Warning! The following ink work is done by professionals or under the supervision of professionals. Accordingly, MTV and the producers must insist that you do not recreate or reenact any of the ink work that's performed on this show. Oh, that's jackass, isn't it? Either way, this is an endurance test for you guys. About to show you my portfolio. It's not for the light-hearted. Take some time. So, post the times that you finish it down below. And if you make it to the end, there's a part 2 with my digital work. So post your times down below in that, which I will say in that video as well. So that second part was pointless. Anyway, let's get on with it. Hi guys, and welcome to the Inky Squid channel. I was sat on the shitter and I was thinking, what is the cheapest, most easiest way to make content while I'm doing some animations and bits for my new intro and things like that, and some t-shirt designs and things. And I thought, oh, let's have a look at my old portfolio and see where I've come from. And then maybe after that I'll go into some of my digital stuff, which I branched off of after uni. It just shows you sort of my what do you call it? My timeline of art, from about 12 years ago up till now, I suppose. So this is one of the first things I did properly that I was proud of. It's like like a dinosaur thing. It was funny actually because this pit here was a knot in the bedding that I had. Like there's a pine backboard to my bed, and it looked kind of like this chappie. So I drew it, and made a whole image on it. It's quite crude. I noticed that it's very very black and very white. I was into my comic books and comics like Spawn and things like that. So I ended up doing his cloak in kind of the way that Spawn's cloak is, and so that's one. And I decided to do it in a set. So I took this idea, which I'll elaborate on in a bit. I'm gonna put each one down by the side. So this one I decided to make less black, and started to create a story using it. So the guy previous was like a herbivore, so he was like a kind of a good guy. And this is one of the kids from the story. He could summon sort of spirits around his local area, and dependent on where he had to fight, he could summon up spirits from the area. And this is one type of this spirit, I suppose. I quite like this one actually. It's quite good. It's one of my favourites. I think the simplicity is quite nice. Yeah. So there's that one. This is 10 years ago, by the way, something like that. So I wanted to create an enemy. So these are the raptors, and basically what's happened is dinosaurs carried on living basically after they so-called got extinct, and they went underground and formed a cult. So you can see all this sort of occult symbolism and things like that. And they ended up going underground, becoming humanoid, and they were drinking. Kind of looks like a big fuck you, doesn't it? That gesture. Sort of feasting on human eyeballs and things. That was kind of the idea. The only part of this I actually quite like is these little raptors sort of jesting and joking. I think that's quite a cool picture by itself, and I quite like the candle there. But still, it's quite crude. But yeah, no, again, some people like that one. So I wanted to create the same, universe. So I took elements from where I used to live, down in Cornwall. And this is a town, sort of fantasized type of town that I used to live in, some blimps. And I decided I'd create this fortification, and this fortification used to surround the entire human population of this city, and it would protect them from those raptors that would take them. for their own means. So let's look into some of that detail here if I can. Let me just adjust it to autofocus here. Might screw up a little bit, but yeah, there we go. That's better. Might just bring it out a little bit more. So yeah, say I was experimenting, you know, doing each individual blade of grass, as I didn't think to do it any differently at the time. Always like to do the long method. I don't like the fact that there's these outlines to the top of this tree, and it also, if you look at the whole thing, it's just so in the way, I suppose, that tree. But there you go. You know, I'm not embarrassed by any of this stuff. It's just I would do things a hell of a lot differently now. Okay, so this one's sort of a boat, sort of patrolling the area really. Just noticed some little flying fish there. Rocks are the easiest thing to do in this style because it's just hatching. You can't really go wrong with it. Just find where the light is, find where the dark is, and keep cross hatching. But yeah, no, that's it's quite a nice little scenic idea. Little eagle there, implying that it's sort of modern day, but these dinosaurs still exist. This is one of the ladies from the enclosure, like the human population. There's a castle there. You can probably find out where I used to live just doing a little Google search, and you can find out what castle that is. But it's all been fortified to not let these dinosaurs in. But there's a little cheeky herbivore sort of whispering in our ear and saying, maybe be careful going out of the forest, in the forests, outside the perimeter. So, yeah, this one's had some, I can see some definite faults in it. But I say, it was 10 years ago, I was still learning. This one, just because I wanted to draw a lady really, and I used the excuse and just painted all over her face and called her a witch. Horny teenager, I guess. So there's a lot of apothecary stuff and some little details there. Did a little waterfall going into this. I don't know what my thought process was. And then some random crystal skull, because nothing shouts mysterious than a glowing crystal skull, if you believe in that sort of thing, which I don't. Okay, and this one is landscape, so I'm just going to do this instead of turn it. Oh yeah, upside left is up and up is down. Okay, so this is a giant sort of megalodon type creature that's swirling up the ocean, and down the bottom there are the sort of the security people, you know, the wardens of the city, and they're getting blown to the side with the wake of this giant creature that's breaching. It's quite interesting. I did some flying sort of stingray things as well. I thought that was quite a cool idea. But yeah, I like this boat. It's got all their archery stuff and all their ammo reserves of arrows and things like that. So yeah, it's quite a simple one. That one that didn't take me that long in comparison to the rest of them, because it's just all that waves and lines. Okay, back up again. This is a little bit later now, so we're talking sort of 8 years ago. Still carried on. I was still at uni, so I was doing this throughout uni, knowing that this was going to be my final piece. So I knew they took a long time, so I got in there early and started them in my first year. And this is sort of a battle between the bad guys, you know, the guys that wear suits, and just the old civilians there trying to fend their border. Not much to say about it really than that, but just give you maybe a little bit of detail on these. Yeah, it's good. And some of these guys as well. So it's funny when I notice certain things like this bit or this bit, I've got a memory of where I was sitting when I was creating them, which is strange. I don't know if anyone else has that, but each section I remember sitting in my living room at home when I was doing those trees. But again, one of the things that I find annoying is the fact that I outlined, and I don't like outlining these days. It's something that it's more comic book like, which I wanted to steer away from nowadays. Okay, this is actually one of the streets from my hometown. It's a couple of guards on patrol. I think I called it patrol actually. And these signs here have nothing on it for some reason. I don't know why I chose that, but giving a bit of extra detail with, you know, the old inn or something as simple as that, I think would have given this a lot more depth to it. I based this one on my mate, and I based this one on another mate. Hopefully they know, watching this, who each one of them is. Okay, this one is a little bit later again. I've started to steer away from the outlines. I still outlined the lady there just because I found that the easiest way to reproduce. Her leg is going up and then back out. I was trying to do some perspective things here. Didn't really work out too well because the lighting's off. But yeah, again, like I was experimenting. I got the one dead owl, giant owl down the bottom here, and then the one that she's slaying currently, and then there's a couple more actually attacking, and then some ancient ruins. I quite like it. She's got the same shield and that as the guys have, the warriors, so she's kind of like a, I don't know, what do you call it, mercenary I suppose, just a one lady army. I think that's the idea of it anyway. So there's that one. These are all A3 by the way, so a lot of pain, a lot of time. My wrist hurts. I think it's perpetually hurting. Oh, I'm going to tilt this one over so you can see it. This is like a battle again between the guards. I was really happy with this one when I'd finished it. It took my full ass. These giant sort of T-Rex looking creeps. Yeah, it's just a fight scene, but I'll just show you some of the detail. And the scale's all off from what I can see now. I mean, he is absolutely so much bigger than this chap over here. If you think that this guy is this big compared to his head, say, and this guy compared to this tiny thing over here, which is a person, you can see that at first it looks alright, but then you see second of all, you know, it's all wrong, it's all messed up. But again, I like this one. And we've got another landscape one. Let me just flip this one around. This is, I think, the last one I did in this series that I was as part of. It's a lot different. It's a lot more. Oh Christ! I might just drop something there. It's a lot more detailed, as you can see. All these tiny little squares in there. All the tree detail. Yeah, I put a lot more attention to detail in this, especially over towards the crowds, which if I just show you there, it's all individually drawn. I think I remember the most complicated part was knowing where the lines were from the spears and not drawing over them. Yeah, so it's that one. The arrows falling from the sky from, I guess, some archers from the top of this fort here, and they're all breaching over these fences that they've created. So I'm vaping on. You know, I've seen these 100 times. So okay, this one actually, this one's different. This one I decided to do with Photoshop in mind. So I wanted to do some outline work and then put it into Photoshop and colour it. So here's this lady holding some sort of dove, and she's basically in this sort of paradise with the armed guards all around the perimeter, protecting civilians inside. And this is sort of a temple area. I suppose it's quite Japanese in ways. And then there's these carp there in the water. I don't like it as it is. I think if you put it on Photoshop, and if I did something with it now, it'd be a lot better than what I did with it back then. So there's that. This one's a fun little one. It didn't take me long to make, really. I just like woolly rhinos because everyone draws woolly mammoths and things like that. I just thought woolly rhino was cool. And there's that same boy again from the second picture I showed, and he summoned up these spirits, which are these woolly rhinos. But they're all watching these asteroids crash to Earth. So I kind of wanted to create icebergs and just an icy feel, but I don't really think I pulled it off. Today I would have put some snow on their backs and added additional details, but yeah, it is what it is. Now this one, I think I went too far with the detail because it doesn't really pick up on camera all that well. Let me pause it. There we go. That's better. So yeah, a stupid amount of detail. It's all lost on people, you know, just seeing it, you know, they just pass it by. It's one of those things that I think I'm cheating people if I'm not putting in detail. But I actually think all the individual grass blades there, let me just focus on some of these. I think I'm cheating people when they're looking at my pictures if I don't spend the time to put in every inconceivable detail. I don't think this has anything to do with this series, but this is going to be a Bigfoot, and these are his sort of hunters, which are like, you know, wolves and things. Like humans have dogs, you know. So Bigfoot has wolves apparently. But if you notice, the black and white 50-50 sort of tonal range is gone. It gets washed out, especially when I zoom out like this. You can't see nothing, you know. It's just looks like pencil work, you know. So mistake, but learnt from it. So there you go. This is a little commission I did for a band. I hate doing stuff I don't want to do, so this was very much laborious and very tedious for me. As you can see, I did give up on the same idea of grass and just fizzled it off into the background there. And it might be modelled on me when I was 20, I think, but sort of an anime version of me. Didn't know how to draw humans all that well. This one's quite interesting. This one, I must have been high or something at the time, because it came to me in what I thought was a dream. But you got the bridge up there. Might bear with me. You got the sort of canyon there. Got some little grey aliens. And then you've got this bit of water here. And then the idea was that you would turn it around, and then that same bridge is up here now, and the water that you saw is now here. So you sort of take two angles from the same pitch when you turn upside down, and then obviously the grey aliens are looking at each other. I was trying to do a trippy picture. I don't know if it works, but I tried to do it a couple more times. So I did this one here with like tubes and things, so you can look at it both way around. So I just do it for you there. Don't know which way's up. And then lastly, that's this one as well, which I did the same way. So obviously this is the bridge on this one, and then flip it around, and now it becomes a dam. And then the sky. I tried to draw the trees like there are trees, but it's hard to do. Okay, so this one is just one that never got finished, but it was actually by design. So this is all pencil work here. It doesn't show up all that well on camera. But this is all pencil. But I wanted to see if I could completely gap inking totally and just do a pencil image, take it into Photoshop and colour it in. And turns out I haven't got the same effect. So there's that. So after all that, I did much smaller works. If it will focus. There we go. These is something that I did a 5 series picture of them because it illustrates a book. If I look on the back of them, title of the work was The Buried Moon. And I captioned each one. They took hold of the big stone and shoved it up. And I took this to the Bologna Fair, submitted it, I should say. I submitted 5, only got back 3. So a bit annoyed by that. But I did each one of these in a day to try and prove to myself that this is a profitable means of a way of getting money. You know, I could bosh one of these out in a day, and I could do these in a day, but wasn't overly happy with them, really. All the little animals and things there. And then to some cringy stuff. I painted them all, so I just flicked through these with my rudimentary Photoshop skills, and I coloured them all in. I was very happy with them at the time because I submitted them. But on reflection now I actually have learned Photoshop. I can see so much that's wrong with these things. It's unreal, but I thought I'd give you a quick look anyway. It's old stuff, so, you know, I'm not embarrassed by it. Everyone's got to start somewhere. So that's the one I did on, it was all washed out, but should have drawn some drunk in. I think that's where I went wrong. This one. So it's my ring light in this picture here. As you can see, it's burning white to get the colour. So just keep smashing these. I'll just put them to the side. And then there's those ones. Put these in A4, I believe. That's about it. See, I tried it there. Didn't really have the same effect as actual inking. Still quite happy with how that turned out though at the time. That's the one I turned into colour. It certainly looks better, I think, in colour than it did in black and white, but again, I wasn't too happy with it. And that's the rhinos there. Whew! Got a lot of stuff there. I didn't have a sketchbook or anything because everything that I have done before that all got flooded and got ruined, basically. So I haven't got any previous stuff to show you, but that's all my old stuff that I've got. And that took me up to about 6 years ago, and then that's when I went digital for 5 years. So I'll switch to the old computer, and I'll bring up my DeviantArt, and I'll show you where I started. It felt like I had to start all over again, learning Photoshop and how to colour things. It's painting, it's not drawing. It's very different things, I found out. Okay, so I'll switch over now. Whoa, guys, if you're watching this, you made it to the end. Oh my god. Some people might put a bonus at the end of this to sort of incentivize you to watch the end of the video. While this isn't that sort of video, But I tell you what is at the end of this video, another video with the digital stuff. So carry on watching, guys.